Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners for February 2nd to order. Please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would join me for the prayer? Lord, thank you for this beautiful Groundhog's Day and the results I've heard reported of an early spring coming our way. Please be with us as public servants as we serve the citizens of Seneca County and give us wisdom for the decisions that are before us. In your name we pray, amen. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Kirchner?
Here.
All right, we'll have the signing of the journal, and I'll accept a motion to approve the DVD recording of the previous session from Tuesday, January 26th, and that index.
I make a motion we approve.
I will second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Stand approved. Thank you.
So if we see the groundhog shadow, the courthouse gets started in April. If we don't. Is that the deal today? I
For
think-
the record.
Okay.
I was officially report this morning, no shadow early spring. Is that-
Yep.
It's either 6 more weeks of winter or 6 more weeks till spring.
Yeah, figure that one out.
No, whatever.
Hey, we've been lucky this year. It's like having even had a winter.
Jinx it. Okay, adjustments to the agenda. What do we need to get adjusted here? From the printed agenda, anything?
We have to put the museum on
Yes.
part of old business.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Anything else?
Gas tank at the engineer's office.
So that's old.
Yep.
How old is it?
You got problems,
Very old.
Very old.
we got problems with that again? That was last year, was that?
Yeah, they've been waiting it out.
We just got the quote back.
Pretty as you get older, you got problems with gas.
Yeah.
Anything they have to go. Okay. All right. So that is it. We have down Job and Family Services Personnel Policy Manual at 10 o'clock, so I think we should let Kathy and Bob and John go first. And then we'll hit the museum, so you guys can.
Well, I'm gonna turn it over to John, but every 3 years or so, we update our policy manual and we bring it to you for approval. John will touch on some of that stuff, but really the changes we made were to be in coordination with what we did with the contract that you approved and any law changes regarding public service and that sort of thing. The comp plan as well, that's for non-bargaining, and we ask you to approve that about every 3 years. We update wage scales and stuff. So, I don't.
Cover that.
Okay, so, the comp plan covers non-union employees. And what we do is we work with Clemens to get comparable wages, comparable size county. And, we put those wage scales in, so for 2016, it's a wage scale, 2017, 2018, we just update those. Everything else in the comp plan pretty much stayed the same, with the exception of we made sure everybody was in the right position description. You know, sometimes people will shift around in non-bargaining, so all that's updated. Our human resource officer will be retiring in March with 30 years of service. So we're transitioning that as well, so we have a new position for that. It is included in the comp plan too, so we're requesting approval on that. And then we did some things in the policy manual that I'll let John talk about.
I apologize, I sent the changes by legislative format to Stacy by email. I was having a little problem with email, and it bounced back, so I resent it the next day, and it didn't bounce back, so I assumed she got it. I was here last week, I didn't check with her, but I understand she did not receive it. So I will give you a hard copy today. I'll resend it tomorrow, so you'll have the whole manual, and we don't need it passed today. But some of the things that you'll see, and what I mean by legislative, anything that we deleted from the manual will have a line through it, and anything that we're adding, new language, will be shaded. So you'll easily be able to just flip through and just look at the changes. Anything not in those areas, there was no change. So a lot of the minor things that we changed would be gender neutral, for example. Some of the changes we made comply for our non-union personnel, that we made the changes in the labor contract last year. For example, how vacation is submitted for minor things like that. We changed the manual, so our non-union will be treated the same as our union. And some of the other legislative required changes that we made because of changes in our state law would have been DAS, Department of Administrative Services, no longer applies to counties. So we added some DAS rules that are no longer applicable by state law that we added to the manual. So it would basically not necessarily be a change in procedure, but since the rules no longer apply to counties, we wanted to adopt it in the personnel policy manual, so there would be something to back that up. So those were added. Things like disability separation. We used to do that under state law, now we have to put it in the manual. Both involuntarily and voluntary disability separation. For example, if an employee runs completely out of sick leave, they're physically not able to do the essential functions of the position. They go on family medical leave for another 12 weeks. They still can't come back because of a disability. And there's no reasonable accommodation that we can give to them that would allow them to perform the essential functions. Then it becomes a disability separation, either voluntarily on their part or we can involuntarily disability separate. And then they have 2 years reinstatement rights back to their position if they go through that. Or they could take a disability through their PRS system. If they go through that, then they would have a 5-year reinstatement. So those are some of the changes that we've made in the manual that you'll easily be able to read, and we're certainly not going to ask you to pass it until you've read it. So we'll give you both a hard copy today, and I'll also send it by email so you can read the whole thing. Hopefully then we can have it adopted by you in the next meeting.
I thought the typical procedure was you pass it before you know what's in it.
Well, we can,
Go to Washington.
yeah, like an Iowa caucus.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. They didn't give Bob a speaking part? We're not gonna hear from Bob?
I'm just a strong silent type.
Okay.
That would be a first.
Sorry, Bob, I didn't mean to say that. Okay, all right, well, thank you, and yeah, we'll look over that and get it on the, assuming we'll be able to get on the next agenda and get it through. All right, museum. We've got Tanya and John to talk about museum.
We're back on the museum in a strong way. We've had our contractor meetings. We have a quote in from Quality Masonry out of Marion. They are restoration contractors, and we're happy with their quote. We have some explanations. We met with them, and when we started this, it's like, okay, we're not restoration contractors. And we're not gonna pay some architect to come in here and tell us how to rebuild some porches and stuff like that there. So we're asked for their recommendations on how they would normally do it. And we've reviewed those. And this is what we're looking at today. Their original estimate, and also some changes that we decided we wanted. Most of it's in painting. Flip that. Go ahead and flip that if you want. Yeah, there we go. What we're doing, if you're at all familiar with the museum, this is the porch area that we're looking at, and most of the work obviously is in that area. Maybe the next one is a better one. Go on, okay. This area and the porches, we've decided that we want to go ahead and strip the paint off. If we scrape it, it's going to look like 100-year-old paint blobs, and we're going to put pretty new paint over top of it. And then we're depending on that base, that primer underneath that old paint to hold for us. And we're going to spend a lot of money hoping that. So we decided we're gonna strip the paint off. They have a method, it's chemical stripping. They spray it on there, they let it soak on, then they pressure wash it at very high or low pressures set by whatever they feel the wood can handle. It has a 95 to 98% strip ability, minor sanding. Now we're putting primer on bare wood, which is what we want. These columns here will be rebuilt or stripped of paint according to what they want or what they need. The porches here will be rebuilt. This wall around the front of the porch will actually go back and be part of the foundation wall. This here, according to the period of these types of housing, these porches only had columns to hold the column. We're going back to that, to be open underneath. And someday, as time has it, the front of the museum will also look at like that. The porch there was filled in after the fact, stuccoed over, now it's falling apart. Talking to the people working at the museum, Mark in particular, would like to see it go back to the period look. So that's what we're doing here. This upper part here will also get stripped and painted and rebuilt to whatever needs to be rebuilt. Go ahead. And that is at $6,310 for that particular type of stripping.
Well, John, that's 6,300 to do the porch, to the foundation and the painting?
No, this would be an additional
These are
cost above the bid that we received.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, these
Upon-
are additional, okay.
After
And over
talking,
top of the 100,000.
Right.
correct, what this is three alternates that we have asked for quality to provide us
Right.
due to conversations we had with him on Friday when we clarified some work in what
You know,
he proposed.
We got the price that, was a good price. It'll look good from the street, but unless we spend the money and do these type of changes, it probably won't last that long.
Yeah, what are we getting for 100,000?
We're getting the porches rebuilt, the columns rebuilt, anything on the dormer that needs to be rebuilt, that will be rebuilt. A lot of this year, you won't know until you touch it and see if it's funky.
Yeah.
You need to tear it off. Same way with this inside porch here, be the same thing. If it can't be scraped down, paint cleaned off and repainted properly, it'd be rebuilt.
But they're responsible, that's part of the
Correct.
original 100,000. They
Correct.
will do that. If it can be fixed, they'll fix it. If it's gotta be rebuilt, that's their baby, right?
Exactly.
Put your
Except for
foundation.
the paint only qualifies for scraping and repainting, not stripping. The additional 6,000 would be to completely strip the original paint off to a bare surface, reseal, and build back up.
Right. So that goes for the same for here. With the bump out here, all gets painted and redone. The porches all get redone. Go ahead. Go to the next one. This is the drainage. When we originally talked about it, we said we need to get drainage away from the building. This building's wet. It's old, it's wet. This inside porch here, the gutters run this way and come down. This bump out, gutters run this way and come down. So back here in the corner, I've got two gutters going down and running across the ground and coming out. Up top here, the main roof works its way down across this roof. The roof from the back also comes down there in the gutter system. The gutters on this porch and this porch. So we're changing. We're spending a little extra time. Instead of dumping this gutter and this gutter system back in the corner, we're gonna reroute them and dump them out here. This one's gonna go over to where all the main roof come down, and we're gonna design a scuffer box, or a collection box like this here. Fred, I'm in your way, aren't I?
No, I can see.
In other words, more to the period of the building, plus it's doing what I want it to do. I want it to collect all the rainwater and come down in one. Go ahead to the next one. Yeah.
No, go back.
Go back. Here.
He doesn't have a good picture of it.
Yeah,
John, are they gonna connect it up with those tiles that run across the, right now there's tiles that lay on top of the grass there, but
Right.
there is some piping that comes out of that concrete wall, so I assume,
that's a footer piping for the concrete wall, okay?
well, that doesn't connect, that doesn't
No,
run.
that just lets the pressure off of that wall, so that wall won't bow and freeze and thaw
It
and so
runs
forth.
parallel down to the wall and
Right,
then
it's
just
just
runs
a
out
footer along there, so we are coming down, and that, go back, it should show it in here.
there. Can they not hook the downspouts into that?
Go back one more, just, here it is. Probably won't be big enough, quite honestly. The previous picture where I showed the scuffer box and so forth, that's this location right here. This is the bump out, so we're gonna redirect the gutters over to this position. Now, this is all underground. All the piping you see here is underground. So the collection box with its 4 downspouts from various roof levels will come down here in one downspout. It'll go to the ground, and underground we'll have this, and this will be as high as a 6-inch, I think. With a Y, we'll catch on the bump out here, and then we'll come through the wall here, and it'll poop out onto the driveway, sorry.
So you're gonna drill through the wall then, you're gonna,
Yeah, we'll
Put a
drill
new tile in there.
another hole
Okay.
through the wall. Right. That'll all be underground. One of the other changes here is, along here is the sandstone sidewalk. Originally, we were talking about, digging this up, concreting over it, so forth. We're not gonna do that, we're gonna keep the sandstone in place. Not really an extra cost, except for a little bit of labor. And hopefully the sandstone stays together. If not, we'll probably have to find a piece or two of it, But with all this here, we'll be getting the water away from the building, which is one of our main things to do.
And not have 5 different downspouts laying
Right.
across the yard. It'll all
Yeah.
be in the ground and out
no,
into the
this is,
driveway.
no added cost here, this is still,
This is an added cost.
This is an added cost.
okay, the 6,000 and then is this another added here?
All said and done with the stripping and painting and this downspout work, it's 12,000 and change.
Right.
Yeah, if you
Additional.
if you look through the proposal there, you'll see 3 different estimates
Oh, okay.
for new work.
Okay.
Right.
The total $12,000.
All right, now, go ahead and advance that.
Each one of these items has a dollar amount attached to it.
Go towards the
If I remember right, there's 50 of this coming out of
Grants.
our funds and grants, we could get,
Well, we've gotten 15 grants already, 20 from Tiffin Charitable Foundation
yeah.
and 30 from the
Yeah, but
Museum
50's coming
Foundation.
out of the general
So
fund
the
then.
remaining amount would be general fund dollars, correct.
Although we have submitted this to the state for potential funding, so we did.
I would imagine, with museums and so forth, that there's,
Well, right now, they're working on, as a matter of fact, that's what Representative Reineke is saying, they're working on appropriations for projects, capital projects fund. Every other year is, the general fund, this year is for capital improvement projects. And right now, they're in meetings, audit committee and finance committee meetings, talking about different counties' projects. We submitted this in total. I don't know if we included these additions or
I did not have these, no.
but we included the whole project down there to ask if there would be some possibility of getting this money.
do we have to wait till approving a bid until,
No, we don't have.
we can go ahead and, if we approve it, and I know we're gonna debate the additional stuff today, we could do it and still apply for the grant, and if the grant comes, then we don't have to take it out of general funds. If it doesn't come, you understand where I'm coming from?
Well, this is an ideal kind of a project because it's a lot of local leverage. I mean, we're putting, from the foundation standpoint, we're putting half of the money in. So this is just exactly the kind of project they're looking for because of local cooperation.
Public-private partnership.
Hopefully get some legs, but we'll see.
Okay, the last part of these explanations is the back of the building. This is where they have added these rooms on over the years, and there's some serious gutter problems. This white pipe you see here is actually PVC. And then these come down and they cross over here midstream and go into a real nice copper gutter that was put on the one addition, although it doesn't match anything else. So we're not gonna change that, but we're gonna change how this all goes together. And what we're going, this is what it looks like, and it's seriously only about 6 foot wide here. And we're gonna put a catch basin here, which is right here. We're gonna run it out from between those buildings. There's another downspout here from the meeting room there. And we're gonna catch all that, we're gonna bury it. And we're gonna, again, drop it out here on the driveway. So in doing all this, we're getting, first of all, the water away from the building. That's first and foremost. Second of all, it's gonna look very nice and it's gonna last. So, with all these changes involved and stuff, it's $12,580. Looking at a total project of $116,890, of which 50 is covered already in grants.
John, what do we have in play? One of the things, I think everything is good, by the way. I think we're looking at it and we're being very conscientious with it. One of the things that comes to mind with me is when you're running all the water to one drainage system, if that drainage system would fail, then we got a bigger problem than we had before.
It'll
So-
be like in the, well, this here, this is small, okay? This is small, but on the front side, the porches and stuff, where they're going into the collection box, that's how it would normally be done, and it's going to be sized accordingly. It's gonna be large enough to handle it, it should never overflow. If it does plug, it's like anything else. We'll see it, we'll fix it, and we'll go on.
There's just a lot of trees.
We're not gonna
down there.
undersize it.
Okay.
We're not gonna try to skip and save on undersizing, and we're not also going, on the looks of it. It's gonna look durable, and it's gonna act durable. It's gonna work very well. So yeah, we're not gonna undersize it by a couple of inches just to save a couple of dollars.
Well, I mean, the way that I look at it, John, is that if we did what we originally proposed and didn't make these changes, and then had to go in later to make the changes, it'd be a whole lot more than 16.
Well, that's kind of what we did after our meeting the other day. Contractor and I walked around the building and said, I said, first of all, you tell me what you don't like, and I'll tell you what I don't like.
Yeah.
So, and that's what created this document, so.
Okay, very good.
We,
Some of the things that just weren't quite finished with the original bid.
John, I gotta say, I think you did a great job on this, and I feel much more comfortable having you involved with it, our people on the ground, and not just listening to
right.
people that are just moving through the community.
Yeah, we're not,
That's
there's no architect or engineer on this, it's the contractor and I and you all.
I feel very comfortable with that, thank you.
So what we're just looking for is a verbal from you guys to move forward with whatever the alternates, so I can get this contract put in place is really, and we just got this information late yesterday afternoon, so.
So the original contract, then this will get added to it, or there's not two separate contracts?
Correct, that's what my goal is by
Yeah.
bringing this to you today, that way we're not waiting till next week to talk about it, since the numbers did come in late yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you need approval, or do you need just to?
I just want a verbal to go ahead to add these alternates into the project.
Stacy, where do we stand? I know that we have funds available for repairs and maintenance and so forth, and where did we end up last year on that? And
Left in our 215 account, our capital improvement fund.
yeah.
We used about all of it. We've reappropriated the museum money, we've reappropriated the CSB money. We had some remaining in contingencies. We put some in contingencies this year, so that,
A vast majority of this is already there.
I
I'm
just have
really
to double
talking about
check.
the 16,000,
yeah.
the additional.
I have to
Because I'm
look at the
wondering,
numbers.
in all the different pots that we have in the county, is there a contingency that?
Maybe we can get it from the dog fund.
Stop.
I tried to get that to the sheriff's department.
Don't bark up that tree.
Well, I hate to start a project and not, especially when you're talking about water.
But-
You
And that's
just
what,
don't
exactly why
go-
we're bringing this to you right now.
You just don't go half-tail the whole thing. You gotta, you gotta do it right.
Correct. We wanted to make sure we got the water fixed. And then also, we didn't want pillars that you could still see 100-year-old paint, lines underneath of it. If we're gonna do, we'd like to bring a better project, and that's why we bought these alternates
My
to you
problem is
today.
always, take it out of the general fund when you haven't budgeted for it. I mean, I know it's not a lot, but still, it's, 16 here, 20 there, 40,
It only makes sense to do it and do it the right way, and
yeah.
we can be optimistic, and that's all we can be at this point, that maybe we'll get something from the state, and I think it is a very good project
Yeah.
for that consideration with the, basically, it's a 50%
Yeah, and I've
local
gotta
match
say, right,
from two groups, and
they're, coming from the state is a very low percentage at this point. I don't wanna give anybody any false
right,
hopes.
right.
But I can tell you that Congressman Reinicke, Representative Reinicke is diligent in trying to get things done for Seneca County. And don't know if this is gonna get done, but we're trying to get as many projects down there as we can for
Yeah.
you. So, from my standpoint, I would say go ahead. I don't know what the consensus is.
I have to concur.
I'll get you guys some
I agree.
updates on the
I would have
215
to
numbers
concur
to
with that.
see what's there.
Yeah. No, I think we need to do it.
Yeah, we got 3 of us, 3 to own.
I will get working on the contract.
Thank you. While you're in here, you wanna update them on the Fifth Third letter we got from Palmer?
So, yes.
More of that.
The questions after Scott was in here regarding Fifth Third reprogramming for the victims' assistance and prosecutor, there was a question posed about whether we could open up into the CSB building to utilize the restrooms there as opposed to
Right.
adding restrooms to the space. There's basically, it comes down to 2 issues. The floors are not level, and Hope Royce is on the other side, which we have kind of sort of given or promised to the Board of Elections.
Right.
So with that being said, we wouldn't have that secure, it would create more problems in the long run.
Yeah.
And we do have Scott did give us to a letter in writing. That's what it comes down to, is a level issue. We'd still have ADA issues with the floors not being, a transition into, and then with that promise of Hope Roy's retail
Well,
area to the Board of
Let's
Elections.
take one at a time. The obvious question about the lack of level, would it be less expensive to get that handicap approved than putting another handicap bathroom in? That's the first logical question, I guess. And the second one is, since we're gonna take over Hope Royce anyway, couldn't we specify with Board of Elections it has to be accessible from the prosecutor side at that point? I mean, there's 2 issues, I get that, but, John, maybe you can answer this. I mean, if there's a level issue, I get it, but could a ramp be installed to the point with the right pitch that would make that handicap accessible and still be able to use that handicap bathroom?
At this time, we know the floors are not level with each other.
Right.
What type of ramp, how far you have to drag it out once you go from one building to the other. There's not a lot of room down in the CSB building where you'd be going to. You'd have to get that ramp in there. Cost-wise, I think the bathrooms would probably cost more simply because we have to create them.
Yeah.
Efficiency-wise, if we put the ramp in and use just for the use of the bathrooms, we're taking away one office for sure. If it depends on where it falls there, it might even be 2 for that space to go in there when we're actually spending money to build offices out front. So I think overall, I mean, we could look at it a little stronger, a little closer, but I think you're better off going with the bathrooms. I don't think you're going to find that much difference in cost. The CSB building is a very old building, and it would, it'd be considerable construction to drop one in there and make sure that the level is ADA accessible.
I know in a building that we did one time along the way, it was cheaper to put an elevator in
Sure.
than it was to do another ADA accessible bathroom.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think those, I have no idea, do we have a bathroom now that we're converting, or we're just taking it from scratch?
No, taking it from scratch.
There's just nothing there.
What is the one light that's actually?
It's actually in the basement and it's pretty
inside?
bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I've been down there,
I was
yeah.
gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm believing, I've seen
Yeah.
it once and that we're.
Yeah. There's one
Not
office
direct
with,
all that traffic to one that's gonna
yeah,
then.
there's one
have
office with a
issues
half
and-
bath and that just,
Yeah, it's
that's,
a teeny tiny toilet and
Yeah.
sink.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that one's
But
that
the
bad.
bathrooms were in the basement for the Fifth Third and they've been unattended for years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a mess.
yeah.
Just take a look
Yep,
at that.
yep, sure, I'll take- yeah.
Just-
Yeah, we'll get some measurements and see if we can even do the flooring.
All right, thank you for the updates.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Tanya.
So put us back at the printed things here, and also we have the gas tank, so let's talk about the gas tank, so we don't forget that one, and then we'll hit the printed stuff. Gas tank at the engineers.
There's tanks at the engineers, currently being used by SCAD, School of Op. Our maintenance uses them. Sheriff does not use those. He goes to the Shell station. EMS occasionally use the tanks. Mark had told us at the end of the year last year that those tanks are really old. He's been, searching around eBay, finding motherboards, and he's been replacing bits and pieces as long as he could for that equipment. He said he can no longer find parts he needs. He can't solder parts anymore. It's beyond repair. He finally got a quote. The total quote is over 60,000. His recommendation is to not put it in again because the cost, we're never gonna recoup the cost.
What do we really save in the price of gas?
We don't. Half the time when he gets
Wholesale
it,
is about the same as retail?
yes.
Well, and they get their, I thought the sheriff said with his types of cards he's got for their fleet, they get some kind of a break anyway with Shell.
That I don't know.
I really thought he was telling me that, but there's still something they get.
They
depending on
all
the type of
advertise
setup.
like 6 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
or something like that, you know.
So, I'd have to get, Mark's the one that's been taken care of, but the
Can we get-
60,000's a lot of money when there's an easy solution. It's not, if it's not a major inconvenience to anybody
Right.
and there's a station right there, not to mention they may be in other parts of the county or wherever to get the fuel anyway.
Right.
I think the spread to buy wholesale and get it substantially cheaper is you gotta have some big volume.
Yeah. And that's what he
we're
said.
not. We're not like
So
that.
there.
So, he knows it's convenient for some of those departments, especially, SCAD and the Opportunity Center, but with the Shell station right there. He says back when they put those in, we didn't have the diesel stations all over the place and
Right.
it was an investment they had made. And the tanks have been down more than on most recently, and so we got the quote in and he said yesterday he's ready to prepare a letter for all the departments letting them know, and he will keep them going as long as he can till departments get, unless, the commissioners wanted to invest in this, but it's not his recommendation. We won't make the money back into it.
Well, the next question is to remediate it. Are we gonna have to remove that tank and do some remediation where that tank was?
Nope, those are all processed inside his area. It's just those tanks out front that it comes through.
So
They'll
they're
still
above
be-
ground tanks?
Yes,
Okay.
they'll still be using those. He has tanks on the inside that will run on a different system,
Okay.
just for his guys inside. Those are just for departmental uses, so.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
So if that's okay, I'll,
I think, yeah, he might as well start notifying him, telling him he'll keep it running as long or till whatever the case is, and
Yeah.
phase it out.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. We had a letter from, and Mike, you led the group, we guys had discussions with the Batchelder Company regarding some.
Yeah, I said that I would bring this back, and I am. We have had discussions with the city of Tiffin, and of course, the county here, and Chad Hawley and Troy Judy with the Batchelder Group. They are a lobbying group. We talk about how we can lever our personnel from here to do some lobbying efforts in Columbus, knowing when the proper time is to go down, knowing what legislation is up, knowing when the finance committee meets, knowing when there's some capital improvement money available. We don't always know that. In fact, many times when we hear about it, we hear about it after the fact. So my proposal is, they came back and said for $2,500 a month for a trial year, they would represent us in the capacity of lobbyists and bring us up to date on anything that's going on down there, and represent Seneca County, and hopefully lobby for some money to come back to the county, both in roads and infrastructure and in capital improvements. So I am asking this group to approve $1,800 a month as the city's portion, or as the county's portion, and $700 a month as the city's portion, to give this a trial run for 12 months, to review it after that, to see what results have happened. I think this is a good jump start for regional planning as well, because that lobbying effort will have begun. This group would let us know when we need to be in Columbus, and for what issues, specific dates and specific leadership people to meet. I mean, they know the chairman of the Finance Committee and on both the Senate and the representative side, and all the people that are appointed by the governor they're aware of. So I believe that it's an opportunity to have some money come back to Seneca County that hasn't in the past, and in light of the fact that in 2015, we basically had 0 grants come to the county. There was one renewal, I will tell you that, but there was basically 0 money, and the city of Tiffin received more than $3 million, and I know Fostoria had $3 million in their pipeline or thereabouts in potential grants from the state. I just think that we need to get a seat at the table, and one way to do that is to have a group representing us there and looking at our interests. Now, I know that the County Commissioners Association has a lobbying group, but I think the thing we gotta remember there is that they are there for every county, all 88, nothing specifically for Seneca County. Our lobbying efforts have been the same for the past few years, and the results have been pretty similar. We haven't gotten much back here. So my suggestion is that we take a different tact and at least give this a try. This needs to be reviewed by Derek, the county prosecutor, to make certain that we have a cooperative agreement between the city and the county to enter into a contract with the Batchelder Group. But pending review by Derek and pending the approval of the city, I would move that we enter into a contract with the Batchelder Group for lobbying.
Mike, my question to you is do they have, what's their client base?
They are, at this point in time, because of the election cycle, they are about 40% representing individual candidates and 60% representing companies and/or municipalities.
Do they represent any other counties?
They do. Well, I shouldn't say county, they represent other cities.
Cities,
Yeah,
okay.
and there may have been a couple of counties they talked about. They actually represent right down to townships.
Well, I
Large
like it.
townships out there.
Yeah, I like what you're saying,
Yeah,
a
listen,
12-month
yeah.
trial period.
See-
I like the 12-month trial
Yeah,
period. That-
we can review it for results at that point, yeah.
Yeah, and that's my only thought to consider it is because it's a trial period. We're not committed for 5 years, we're not committed for, any, just see how it goes for a year. If I did my figures right, that's 12,160 for us and 9,600 for the city.
Yeah, and I mean, the quick calculation is that, city of Tiffin population is approximately a third, a little less than a third of the Seneca County population, therefore the number.
Yeah.
One thing we all have to realize as commissioners, there's gonna be certainly interaction from at least one of us as these legislative things come up, that we gotta go down with them.
Well,
at times.
right, and we've
So
got-
it's gonna make a commitment on us.
I mean, I think that everything, the stars are lined up at this point in time. We have Representative Reineke, who is a Seneca County person. We have Senator Burke, who has been advocating to get some things done in Seneca County. So they're both pushing in that direction. We've got somebody else down there helping them and assisting them to show them the way, and that maybe they can get things done for us. So, and then we will also get calls from time to time, and it'll be a cooperative effort. we'll get calls, the mayor will get calls, or city council members, to actually make a visit to Columbus at the appropriate time to talk about a specific issue. Rather than us going down and making howdy-doody calls, as I call it, shaking guys' hands and saying, how you doing? We're actually going down for a specific reason, for a specific request.
No, since Foster wasn't interested, and we've got it covered with the breakdown you explained, but does Tiffin, do you think they're fine with that new level, or they already know?
I'm not certain.
Okay.
I know that they have a keen interest in participating in this, and I think it's a great example of another, collaborative effort between the county and the city. Write that down, Wayne. And so,
Should we wait to hear if they're gonna be okay with that, or do you?
well, I think my motion would be pending the city's cooperation with
And-
700 and pending Derek's review of the contract and the joint agreement between the city, the county, and the bad shelter group.
The city at 800, you just said 700.
800,
Okay.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mike, I'm certainly supportive of it, and I would second that motion, that we would enter into assuming, as you said, assuming that the city is willing to go along with it, and enter into a 12-month review. And at that time, we'll say, okay, we invested this amount, what did we get out of it?
Agree.
And pending the prosecutors.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That'd be something that the prosecutor and the law director have put their blessing to it, and they put their blessing to it. But again, I just want to reiterate, it is with added response, and I'm fine with it, I have no issue with it at all, but when they call and said, well, tomorrow, you got legislation, need you to come down to Columbus, then one of us got to be willing to do it, and I'm certainly willing to do my part on that. But it's more than just a financial commitment, it's going to be a personal commitment. I think it's a great idea. I mean, I understand what Commissioner Kirchner's been saying all along, unless you get the right people with the right time to ask, doesn't happen. And that's proven in the past.
Yeah.
We haven't got anything.
Right. I appreciate your work on it, Mike, and checking it all out, and like I said, on those conditions, I think it's a good effort, something to try if we can. Again, we're not committed for longer than a year, well, the city's part of it, helping carry that, and the stars are aligned. We do have good representation and cooperation going on, and to see this continue to be beneficial to our community. So we've got a motion, we've got a second.
Probably need to take a vote on that,
Take
don't we?
a roll.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes,
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes, approved. All right.
thanks, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Good
Thank
point,
you.
good point.
Continue, we've got one more item under old business, the insurance.
And I only wanted to bring this up in session because we've had a couple questions here lately. Previous to 2014, the county used to cover half of the insurance for part-time employees. In 2014, we did some research. There was only very minimal employees that were still being covered, and due to some cost savings that we had approved to eliminate the coverage for health insurance for part-time employees. So just been some questions coming to the auditor's office and our office lately. Just wanted to bring that up and remind the departments that that coverage is not available. One of the employees will be coming off of that insurance. The other employee is in a remaining 2-year term. I assume we will continue to cover him until his term is up, but also to remind everybody that we do not offer insurance to part-time employees anymore.
I thought under the Affordable Health Care Act, and I may be wrong on this, that if you work less than 30 hours
Correct.
a week, you can't offer it to an employee. You're prohibited because it's driving them to the exchange.
I don't know about,
Okay, that's a question to ask, I think, because I don't know about appointed people and all that kind of
Right,
thing.
yep.
Because I know there's different rules, but I thought that I read under the Affordable Care when I had a number of employees, that if they work less than 30 hours, you were restricted from offering them under the Affordable Care Act, but that may have not kicked in yet, and that may not be true, but that's what I remember.
I know we changed our policy to reflect that 30 hours And also to eliminate what our current policy says,
Okay.
so, but
There was
I,
always a feeling that, well, someone was in a term, even though, you know, and this elected by a specialized, at some level of definition, it's considered an appointed term, these members of the Board of Elections. So the thought is he would carry it, but
Well,
well, otherwise, our policy does match the
Yeah.
Affordable Care if that is what it is.
Well, I know that, you know, a number of people, a number of companies in the private sector were hiring people for less than 30 hours to avoid having to pay them
Yeah,
insurance, so. And the reason they did that is because they're prohibited from paying them if they don't work at least 30 hours.
all right. Well, just like I said, point of clarification to remind our departments and everybody that we aren't, as the policy change occurred in 14, part-time do not get the health insurance coverage partially paid, and that one individual would continue to the end of his current position, term, appointment, whatever it is.
that's all I have.
So that's just point of clarification. If you learn something different on that Affordable Care, bring that back. And-
Yep, I will, I'll talk to Ron.
All right,
John probably knows.
if there is no more,
John probably knows.
John?
yeah, he left. If there's no further old business,
Well, other than, what's an update on the regional planning?
the board meeting is Wednesday night at 5:30.
Okay, has a manual been, in a job description, been approved?
They're planning to do that on Wednesday night.
Okay, yeah, they have to go to the full board, but you've got a draft into them now. And then they'll start the selection process.
Yes,
We
they'll
had
do.
a robust discussion about that at the last meeting, about the
Yeah.
job description. So hopefully it'll get approved this time, yeah.
Yeah,
Good, thank you.
yeah, that's where that's at. All right, begin with the new business.
Okay, I have bill vouchers, 11603 to 11701. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the CDBG NSP fund, putting $47,030.73 into other expense. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the EPA on-lot septic system fund, putting $5,314.14 into other expense. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the CDBG FY13 fund, putting $4,525.26 into other expense. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriation for the CHIP BC 14 1CQ1 fund.
It's easy for you to say.
Easy for me to say. Those are the state's numbers that they apply to our titles. Putting $735,788 into those appropriate lines. These are, Tanya's getting all of the budgets, supplemental appropriations ready for 2016, that's what these are for. And a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the CDBG 14, I won't read the numbers, for $93,043.14. Resolution rescinding the board's orders of January 26, 2016, volume 92, page 45, supplemental appropriations for the Seneca County Sewer District. Didn't put the resolution why.
That was my question.
Good question.
I think when she was doing it, she said she wasn't ready for it yet.
I think it was the appropriation adjustment, I think. And it says supplemental appropriation.
You get over there and ask her.
Yeah, I can ask her. 'Cause I don't know why she's rescinding it. I can ask her quick. I have a resolution accepting a bid of Quality Masonry Company for the museum porch renovation project. Again, the original bid amount was $104,310, and then we will get those additional change orders added for your signature on that too. I have a resolution accepting the bid for JB Roofing Company for the CSB roof replacement project. Their bid amount was $116,850.
I had a question on that, Stacy.
Yes.
Was it the CSB, if I recall, that we were gonna do it in a third, and third? Is this the last third?
because of the problems with the roof, we had to combine the projects. And this will finish the whole building.
That's okay,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
And the air condition, I noticed that there's a crane over there now, or.
That's for the elevator.
That's for the elevator, okay, but they had to replace something up in the roof. Has that been replaced?
The big unit
Condenser,
was,
air cooler, or whatever they call the thing, I don't.
yeah, the big unit was done a year or two ago. They talked about a smaller unit that was up above the bank, but
Well, I know they wanted to do that before we did the roof, and I
the
wanna
big
make
one we
sure.
did, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
The big one
I
we
just don't
did.
wanna do the roof and all of a sudden we have to tear something up
Right,
6 months from now.
making a
Go ahead and-
hole or something, yeah, yep. And I have a resolution authorizing Stacy Wilson, County Administrator, to sign the contract with Van Horn, Hoover and Associates for the topographic survey and drafting at the for the Seneca Joint Justice Center. Derek has already approved that, I just have to have the, they put Quandle as the contracting authority, so figured if I sign it after they get that changed, we wouldn't have to wait. Already got the phase one contract signed and it's moving forward, so
Just hope there's no need for a phase two.
let's hope not.
How are we doing on the bonding? Where do we stand at with that?
We're still waiting to come up with the final number. Once we get a GM, a gross maximum price, then we'll be able to move forward and get that handled.
When do you think that can be done? When-
Next meeting.
Next meeting, you think
Our
that
next meeting we'll have a
Next of
number.
the leadership,
Right.
yeah, so
right.
the fourth Friday.
fourth Friday they'll have a gross
And
maximum
my
number?
sense is we may actually have one, your group may actually have a number before that. And that, as soon as we know the number, we feel relatively confident, then we can move
Schedule.
forward. Yeah. And we'll do that simultaneously. Any kind of luck, we'll get that done maybe before the next meeting, and then you'll have both items done.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the trip will be maybe March or April,
The what?
the trip to
Yes,
The-
March,
the-
let's
March.
keep our fingers crossed for
March,
March.
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
Move approval.
Seconded.
Motion and a second. One question on this one, was there one added, or was there an amount change? Because I don't see, I got confused here. When you read the amount, I kept looking for it here and didn't see it. This is the supplemental for the EPA on-lot septic system fund, or is it just,
It should be on the agenda, the 22nd one after bill vouchers. For the 4,000.
EPA on the second one there,
the amounts are
The
different?
third bullet.
Oh, the amounts are
Might have to
different.
change the amounts then.
Okay. This is the amount you read.
This is, yeah, the amount on the resolution is
Yeah,
what I.
I just didn't see that one reflected here, so the amount is
Good catch.
Oh, let me ask
All right.
Tanya quick about the.
What's the amount on that one, Holly? And I'll change it on my notes too.
$5,314.14. And I'm sure verifying something before we vote.
Yeah, she was the one that we had to rescind.
The other one, okay.
Yeah, I think we're okay about, she just.
Assume
Yeah,
that
she
that's
wasn't ready
approved.
for that one. She had put some money in place to do our final transfer this year for the sewer district. So, she's gonna hold off on that until John gets her the correct numbers on that. That was what she was sitting for.
Right. So, we can call roll.
Commissioner Kirchner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes, all approved, thank you. That concludes our line of business. Somebody have anything else?
I see the mayor from.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wonder what
We
we're
will,
these dignitaries here
Opportunities,
today.
for
I
these,
feel
all those follow-up
privileged.
meetings, yeah.
I almost felt like
After-
getting on my knees and kissing your knee, or your ring, not your knee, your ring.
Be careful, be careful.
Starting to worry me a little bit, Fred. Just a little bit.
Whenever you start something out by kissing,
We are at an opportunity for citizens' comment, so maybe the Fostoy folks want to say something. If not, I know you're here for follow-up land bank, first organizational meetings for the land bank as well for the Transportation Improvement District. We are doing those back-to-back following this meeting. So citizens' comments?
Was a vote taken on your last motion?
Yes.
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 It was, okay.
Yes.
Missed that.
Yep. Tom?
I have two comments.
Sure.
One, I want to thank Mike for pushing about the ramp on that building down there, because we know those floors aren't level. And it's going to be a lot cheaper if we can put a hole through the wall and a ramp. A lot. Thank you. The other thing, on the museum, with this gutter work, is the new spouting going to be the half-moon type, which that building used to have, that type of building should have a half-moon? It serves two purposes, if it does. The half-moons, with the trees around there, the leaves will blow out of some of that. Where your new spoutings, it will not. And the half-moon is what that building would have had on originally.
We need to have moon with gutter guard or like a helmet.
You don't need gutter guard with the half-moon, Mike. That's the nice
Yeah, we'll
part about
check,
it.
because we are trying to get it back to historical.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so yeah, I
The old
appreciate that.
half-moon works so much better.
Yeah, I would think if they got half moon on the existing facility that they would do, but that's a good point, they'll bring that up with John though. We'll bring that up with John.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's very valid, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else for citizens' comments?
Candidate English, it's good to see you here today.
Okay,
You
seeing
still
none?
want the job after you hear all this stuff we got to put up with?
Do you wanna just remind, the annual meeting for regional planning is Wednesday,
Oh, yeah,
tomorrow?
the regional planning meeting is Wednesday, but they are having it as their annual meeting, because they're required to have an annual meeting and indicate that, so it's gonna be their annual meeting.
Election of
Have it at it.
officers and all that kind
Election
of
of
stuff.
officers, that kind of stuff, but,
And Holly, I appreciate you stepping up to the plate and stepping in as president, if so
well,
elected.
that's what I say, that's if they choose. I'm willing to
Sometimes it's
serve.
watch what you wish for.
I know. All right, nothing else to go to the order. Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded here.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 We stand adjourned at 10:57.